have to restart your computer to make it show up in the list. I'm going to show how to set it up real quick so that you hit the... Now this slider here, the quality slider, has no effect on Xvid or most other of these codecs. And in fact, let's go back to the default. This is the default that you'll have. Leave this here checked, lock capture and playback rates, and that'll keep these two changing so that it always equals 1,000. All right, hit configure. Now I'm at Xvid 1080 for the recording that I'm doing right now, and this installation just copied the settings in my other one. When it comes up, it'll say Xvid Mobile. Okay, if you're doing a 720, change it to 720, like this size window. Remember, we set up the fixed settings to be a 720, and we also made this window to be 720. And single pass is usually good enough. Some people that do things with more full motion use multiple passes, but that's beyond the scope of this. I'm just trying to get you going. Set this to 1. That's the best quality. And this will be set to general purpose down here. Okay, and that'll get you going. You'll be fine. The thing will run. Everything will work. If you're a game recorder and you want just a little bit more speed out of things, see this where it says BVOPs? Just uncheck that. Okay, I'm going to leave it checked for now, but uncheck that. And then under here, down at the bottom, quality preset, here it says general purpose. You can change that to real time. And that may give you smoother videos for game recordings. Okay, so that's for the game recording, folks. People that are doing any kind of tutorials, though, where it's just like what you're looking at now, a software type screen or a browser screen or PowerPoint slides, these other settings will do just fine. In fact, my 110 setting will do you just fine. All right, so also under other options down here at the bottom, sometimes depending where you get your Xvid, you click that and this will be checked, display encoding status, and that's going to bring up a dumb window that's trying to show you the status of Xvid in real time as you're going. How useless for us, you know. Just make sure that's unchecked and you won't be bothered by that window suddenly showing up on your screen and getting in the way. All right, so there's your settings. This is the setting for a 720. If I was going to do full screen on mine, as I'm doing now, I'd have it set to 1080. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so that's your settings for that. Now we can get out of that. I'll say OK. Now the options for your cursor will set. Usually you want to show your cursor and should use the actual cursor. You might, in some occasions, want to hide the cursor so you don't see the cursor flying around. Say for a PowerPoint presentation, you want to take the chance of the cursor getting in the middle of the screen. But with the cursor showing, you can also choose a cursor highlight thing that allows you to have a circle show up around your cursor when you click, for instance. Well, it shows up anytime. It's just it makes the cursor more obvious by putting yellow around it. And that's just during the recording. You can also enable visual click feedback, so you can have a left button be red, for instance, and the right button be blue. Okay, so those are some nice new features that were added in 2.6 or 2.5. Okay, so I'm just going to use the show cursor thing and stay normal. Oh, what the heck! We'll actually be making a recording, so I'll show you some colored cursors. So we'll highlight it and we'll enable both of these. There we go. Okay, now the audio options. Well, right now it comes in by default set to do not record audio. You want to be recording some audio, most likely from your microphone. Now, although there's a record audio from speakers option, it probably won't work for you. It works on very few pieces of hardware that are modern. It took advantage of some hardware hooks that were prevalent on XP era machines, although very few machines, apparently we've heard, have these hooks in them because this works for some people. So give it a try. It may work for you. It most likely won't. It might probably give you a wave out error. It'd be the error you get, wave out error. And well, just forget it. You're not going to get it to work if you get that error, from what I've understood. If you wanted to record the audio from speakers, in other words, record system audio, you'll have to use stereo mix. And that you may not have stereo mix showing with your drivers, but you may be able to find drivers for your audio system that include the stereo mix feature. Just a lot of drivers ship without stereo mix, being present. So anyway, so we're going to just focus and stay focused on recording audio from the microphone for now. And there's other videos that I put in my playlist on using stereo mix. We just want to get some stuff in from the mic first. So record audio from microphone, then go to audio options and audio options for microphone. This will come up. Now I'm using this line in from a USB interface that I've got my mic plugged into. But if I had a mic plugged in, it would show up in this list of mics plugged in. In other words, I've had just something plugged in the mic jack. I also have stereo mix available, so that's another choice from the drop down. So I would pick the one that was appropriate for my thing. The volume button at this point doesn't open the control panel for the audio control panel in Windows 7 and Windows 8, but it will down the road. That's one of the bug fixes we're going to fix. You have to get to that down here in the tray by right-clicking on your little speaker icon. Let's just do that. Go to Recording Devices. Now, did you see that I moved that a little fast? Let's do it a little slower here. Oops. There you go. So you see it go to Recording Devices. And that'll open up this dialog. And I've got my line in. The thing that you want, and you see my meter's moving up here. The thing that you want to be using, you simply right click and you make it enabled. So say we wanted to switch to stereo mix, we would right click on that and say set as default device. Now if your stereo mix isn't showing, right click on the background in the white area and this will show up. Make sure show disabled devices and show disconnected devices are both checked, because that may be what's required to make your stereo mix appear, okay, or any other devices that are disconnected at the moment. But you would then enable it, set as default device. Now I will tell you a trick when you're using stereo mix is to use listen and send it to, say if you're using your digital out, your SPDIF out, click on listen to this device and it'll send the output from your system audio through stereo mix and back out to your speakers, so you'll be able to hear it. Okay, that's just a little extra. But we are using the line in. If I was using the microphone, I would enable that. Okay, there's no microphone plugged in, but if there was, I'd be able to set that as the default device. I've got my microphone plugged in through a line in USB interface. Then on playback, you see I've got line out. I can monitor things however I want if I had the listen hook turned on. There's definitely better ways to monitor though. Alright, but we're not worried about that. We're just worried about getting our sound to get in. And so you have to, like I said, right click on the thing you want to use and set it as the default device, and then make sure that that is selected in Cam Studio from the drop down menu here. Okay, it'll appear. Alrighty, now recording format, it'll come up default as a 22K stereo, which is kind of a not great quality. It's okay quality, and it'll save you some on the file size because you're not recording full-blown audio. Okay, if you can live with the sound of it, it converts okay. It sounds okay. I always switch mine to either 44.1 stereo 16-bit, or for my mic input, since I only got a mic plugged in one side and all the audio would be in the left speaker if I chose stereo, I choose the 44.1 mono 16-bit as the recording format. Notice I've got my compressed format as PCM. I have found that the various other options, your various MP3s and stuff like that, which I've taken out of my system because the sync went bad so much. It just made the synchronization of the audio drift, and it was better to convert the audio later on, or let YouTube convert the audio. So I stay with PCM. Now, you can get pretty good results from Microsoft's AD PCM is another option, and it doesn't drift. I've had no problems with drifting, and it will make the audio file size smaller. If you're doing mono like I am, you can also use GSM 6.10. That's the same thing, the GSM, that's what the cell phones all use. But it only works in a mono signal. So only if you've switched your thing to mono, as I had earlier, will that work. Okay? So you'd have to have this set to mono. Then that will show up in the list. So you can give it a try. You won't break anything. Always do some tests before you commit, of course. The AD-PCM is another good one. And at screencasttutorial.org, there's a good explanation of what on earth AD-PCM is. PCM, though, is full-blown audio. It's the original. It's your original Microsoft audio. You know, it's a CD quality audio. All right. Now, if you checked use MCI recording, it would simply use whatever your system settings are. You get the exact same settings as most system settings by setting this to stereo at 44. And that would be the exact same as your system settings in most cases. But now that you have systems that can do 48 bit and even higher, use MCI recording may really give you humongous audio file sizes. So I recommend kind of staying in control of it. Do it manually. Set it to PCM here. And I used to tell everyone to use MCI, but that was before. I was in XP machines. Now set it to PCM yourself. Okay? Alright, so that's, I think I've beat that one to death. That's the big stuff. Okay, now let's quickly run through this. We've got it. Now you could just make a recording. You're all set to go. But let's change some program options, because there are program options that are really a nuisance, and you have to get your handle on them. And there we go. So we have minimize program on start recording, that when you start the recording, the program will jump down into the tray bar automatically and get off of your screen. Okay, so remember, it's going to be in the tray bar, not in the system, not in the bottom taskbar. It won't be in the taskbar. Only the flashing rectangle shows there. Hide flashing rectangle during recording makes it so there is no flashing rectangle. Okay, so you don't have the option of knowing where your region is if you're doing, like I'm doing, with just a part of the screen. You don't know where the limits of your recording region are unless you mark them some other way. I always have save settings on exit and capture translucent layered windows. On save settings on exit, though, sometimes you got to start up this program as an administrator to get that to work. You right click on the icon and say run as administrator, and then it'll save. It depends on where it's saving and what your permissions levels are as to whether it'll save the settings and write to that folder. Because if your permissions and security settings are set too high, it won't write to that folder unless you're an administrator. Okay, so then you have some more here. Let's see if I can get this. Yes, we have several players. Do not play when the recording stops and you've saved the file. It converts the file over to the AVI and combines the audio and the video portions and makes a file. And you can have it open up and use the Cam Studio Player 2.0 to play back the video. I recommend just using your system default player, okay? Because that way you'll see right away if it's working in the system that you're used to. And there we go. Now what else can we set here? Directory for recording, there's another important one. Let me get that back here. All right, directory for recording. There's an application installed directory now, a videos directory that's in the program folder, okay? And that's where it is putting the temp stuff. I use a user specified directory. I actually made in my videos folder, I made a Cam Studio temp files folder. So I'll actually show you that by going to that. And on here, and go to users, me, and my videos. A little further down. There it is. And you see Cam Studio temp files is a folder I created in there. And that's where I tell it to put my temp files. I also made a folder in that folder called fail-safe copies, where I copy my files before I hit save. When I'm done with the video and I've hit stop and it comes up with the dialog to save it somewhere, before I hit that, I always copy the temp files into a fail-safe copies folder in case something crashes, because I may be able to rescue things. But the temp files themselves I put into my own folder. Okay? Alright, so there's another setting for you. Under program options again, the directory for recording we just set. Recording thread priority, normal is always just fine. Name of AVI file, I recommend setting ask for file name. Okay? So let's go here again. Name of AVI file, ask for file name is what you want. And that way it'll ask you where you want to put the file name. Now, some people like using automatic file name. It puts it into whatever you've set as the temp folder for the directory for recording up here. Okay? It puts your finished product in that same folder and it names it with the date and time, a timestamp as the file name. So that's convenient for some people. They just want to be able to push the stop button and then it automatically, you know, puts the audio and the video together and saves it with that file name, and then it would be showing up in that folder. So let's go where this folder is. You go to your drive, into program files, Cam Studio 2.7, and there you have the new videos folder, and that's where it's going to put your temp files as well as the finished product if you've got that selected to save automatically. All right, so if you didn't change anything in here, if you make the directory for recording be the application installed directory, and you have the name of AVI file be automatic file naming, then everything's going to wind up in this folder in your Cam Studio 2.7 folder. All right, but I don't like doing that myself. Okay. All right, so now we've got everything set up. Let's go ahead and see if this will record. Now, you don't have to cover anything in the tools. That's advanced stuff. You just want to get a recording done. So now, when I hit record, you'll see me making a recording of making a recording. And there's the flashing going on. Oh no. So that's happening because I don't want to be showing the flash in this case. Because I had closed that thing before. So let's just set program options to hide the flashing rectangle. Thank you very much. Here we are. Okay, so now you see this comes up and it shows you that it started recording, and the actual input rate 9 frames per second. So if you're getting a slow input rate, I am, because I'm already recording, You may have to up the playback rate and lower the capture frames, everything, settings in video options. In other words, here, if this will open without crash. Oops, no, it crashed. Okay. I crashed the Cam Studio thing. Here we go. Have to open her up again. Well, anyway, you obviously can't be recording at the same time. But if I had accomplished that recording, it would have come up with the save dialog. I won't be able to open this now, but we've gone far enough. You've seen how to get it, the basic thing happening. Then you just hit record. It would select the region. You'll record, push stop, and it'll ask you where you want to put it if you've set it the way I showed you. You give it a file name, hit save, and then it should come up and play it back for you in your own player or in the Cam Studio player if you use the default settings. All right, so I hope that got you rolling. If not, ask me some questions, and I'll answer them over there at the Cam Studio forums. Okay, that's again at camstudio.org forum, and you'll be golden. All right, take care.